I would do folks. Bull Marks 1, 2, 3, 5 numbers after the name, trying to get back on that grind, trying to get back on that post in that red, you know what I'm saying? Trying to like, let that coronavirus affect us over here on the YouTubes. Little games beating action over here, man. A little Castlevania 3. I've been putting in some serious works in the game beating action, man. August was a little bit light for me. August was definitely a little bit light for me. But outside of that, I've been putting in some serious work over here. Hopefully get back on the grind over here. Hopefully when the NBA season calms down a little bit, you know, get back and put in that work a little bit. Either way, though, Castlevania 3 right here. The sequel to the sequel to the sequel of Castlevania. The sequel to the sequel of Castlevania. Don't want to have too many sequels in there. It's pretty damn good. There really isn't much about it. I probably prefer Castlevania 3 over the original Castlevania, although obviously there is some more, I don't know, more retro connections even to Castlevania 3. I mean, Castlevania the original one. Castlevania 3 definitely changes a couple things up, you know, where you could have even like different characters and whatnot, but it still sticks to the tried and true formula. I prefer it over Simon's Quest. I've only played Simon's Quest for like a little bit, but the open worldness of it doesn't really, it just doesn't do it for me. I get it where at the time maybe it was really cool, but going back to it now, I prefer a much more linear experience. It's hard. All these Castlevania games are hard. I'm playing it on Switch, on the collection that they put out. Yeah, the Castlevania collection, I highly recommend. I think I ended up getting it for like $10 or $8 or something, between the discount and just the gold coins and stuff like that. So it was a pretty sweet deal. But I think it's $20 regularly, which is pretty cool if you want to play like Castlevanias and have them all like portable. I basically ran through Castlevania 1, 3, and Super Castlevania, and then I kind of just a little bit lost interest in Bloodlines. Maybe we'll come back to it, maybe we won't, but I think I may have been Castlevania now. But I never actually played through Super Castlevania. That'll be next week, so we'll talk about that next week. But Castlevania 3, it feels like a slightly harder version of the original Castlevania, with like the new characters and stuff that you could add in. I only found 2 of them in this playthrough. I'm not sure if you can find all 3 in the same playthrough. I imagine you can. I'm honestly, I'm not as familiar with this game as I am with the original. I've kind of played the original a healthy amount. I didn't play either of them growing up necessarily. I didn't have any of them for the NES or anything like that. Nothing really against them, just, you know, it's whatever my parents picked, so that's that. But I did have the original Castlevania. I bought it for like the Wii or something like that, and I have it on like NES now. So I played through it like a little bit, and I would always get, I don't know, maybe like halfway through. I'd sometimes reach like death. That'd be kind of like a good run for me. I'd make it to like death, and then I'd kind of like die there. Now it's a little bit different with the save states and stuff. I'll kind of like just save state like right at the beginning of the stage and kind of keep going from there. Like always just redo kind of like the stage instead of having to redo like the whole game over and over again. And that's kind of what I did here too. If I would die, I'll kind of go back to the beginning of the stage and kind of redo from there. Except for the Dracula fight. I think I just stopped at Dracula. It's just time consuming, and obviously it's not the same as if you were playing it back in the day where you have to keep playing it by force over and over and over and get not only get good but get like great at it. But life changes, man. There ain't that much time today, and I was like, yo, listen, man, I could either beat Dracula or I could keep trying to get to Dracula and then keep losing to Dracula, and eventually I'll be able to do it, but in between that time I could be playing a lot of other stuff and just enjoying life. So overall, I would pick Castlevania 3 as my favorite of the NES Castlevanias. We could follow up next week to see if I prefer Super Castlevania over it. That's a little tease right there, so you have to tune in next week and see what we feel about that. But of the 3 NES ones, I would definitely do this one. And then probably Castlevania after that, and then Simon's Quest. But once again, if you're looking for more of an open world kind of different type thing, then Simon's Quest could be up your alley. It just isn't really for me. I'm always more about the, I was going to say story driven, but more of the linear experience of like, get here, and here's the challenges in between. And Castlevania 3 in that sense is great.